To eat or not to eat? Much like us, it's a question that cows have to deal with on it throughout the day. Much like a fire uses wood as fuel, the dairy cow uses what she eats and what she has stored in order to fuel her own fires. Now this fuel gets broken down to a compound that we call acetyl-CoA. Now this acetyl-CoA is used to produce energy. So my research, I studied the fires that are occurring in the liver and how it's affecting the cow's feeding behavior. And I do this in a time known as the transition period, which are the 3 weeks before the cow gives birth to those 3 weeks after she gives birth. Now during these 3 weeks after she gives birth, she's in what we call a negative energy balance. So she's unable to eat enough food in order to eat her energy demands. And so farmers will try to help the cow increase her energy by feeding her high energy foods such as starches. Now starches can be broken down once they're eaten into a molecule called propionate, which enters the TCA cycle as propionyl-CoA. Now this propionyl-CoA is what the cow uses in order to make her glucose or sugar. It can also help with the breakdown of acetyl-CoA and produce more energy. Now dairy cows will also break down their own body stores during this time to also help with this creation of fuel. Now this excessive breakdown of body tissues can cause metabolic diseases that can lead to decreased milk production, health, and fertility. Researchers are trying to understand why dairy cows have this suppression of appetite during this transition period. Now our lab believes that the type and supply of fuels being supplied to the liver during this time is affecting her appetite and feed intake. Specifically, that an increase in energy from fuels in the liver is going to cause a satiety signal and decrease feed intake. So during my research, we dosed cows with propionate and we took liver biopsies 10 and 20 minutes later in order to get a snapshot of how this propionate was being used as a fuel and affecting energy production. And from these snapshots, what we discovered is that there are places within this cycle that may be delaying the rate at which propionate is being utilized, such as the enzyme malate dehydrogenase, which you would find between malate and OAA on the cycle behind me. And so by understanding how propionate is suppressing appetite and how appetite is being suppressed in general, then we could start working on solutions and focusing future research in order to help the dairy cow during this difficult time in her life, which could lead to improved feeding strategies, feed intake, nutrient utilization, health, and overall increasing the sustainability of the dairy industry. Thank you.